Now, if you've ever worked on large scale production systems, you'll know just how powerful the concept of caching is and how you can use it to effectively shed load on some of your internal services and also improve the performance of your applications. Now, this video's focus is going to be on how you can get started with Redis in your Go applications. We're going to start by running a Redis instance locally using Docker, and then we're going to see how we can connect to it using Go, and then do things like setting and getting values within our Redis instance. So let's dive right into the terminal and do docker pull Redis to fetch the latest Redis image from Docker Hub. Now that we've got that, we can then run the image as a container by doing docker run name, and let's call this Redis test instance. And let's expose the port. So Redis runs on port 6379, so we want to map localhost port 6379 to the internally running port on the Docker container. And we want to run this in detached mode, and the image we want to run is Redis. Now, if we run docker ps, we can then see all of the containers running on our local machine, and you can see that we have our Redis image up and running, and you can see that it's bound the ports successfully. Let's dive into the main.go file within our Go application, and we'll start off by importing the github.com/go redis/redis and the v8, which is the latest version. Now, this is the package we're going to use in order to connect to our Redis instance, and also so that we can do things like setting and getting values within this Redis instance. Let's then go into the main function and create a new client. So client is equal to redis.new client, and we want to pass in some options. So redis.options. Now the first one is the address that we're attempting to connect to. Now in this instance, we're going to keep it simple, and we're just going to hard code it to localhost 6379, which is the address of the container that we've got running down below. Next, we want to specify the password. Now, when we ran our Redis container, we didn't specify any password options, so the default password is an empty string. And then finally, we want to specify that we want to connect to the default database, like so. Cool, so let's do go get and the new package, and that'll go ahead and download it for us. And as you can see, the red squiggly lines go away. Now, I know this is incredibly bad practice to hard code these things, and you should too. So bear in mind that if you're building out a production application, you're picking these up from things like the environment variables, or perhaps from a Vault instance, for example, to make sure that you're not hard coding any of the credentials and possibly causing a security incident and giving yourself a big headache. Next, let's attempt to connect to our Redis container. So we'll do ping or error is equal to client.ping. This will take in a context, so let's do context.background for now, and then let's get the result from this ping command. Let's check for the error, so if error does not equal nil, then let's do fmt.println error.error, and we'll return. Otherwise, let's do fmt.println ping, and that will print out the results of our connection attempt. Let's go into the terminal and do go run main.go, and fingers crossed, yep, we have been returned the pong result, which is effectively a successful result from being able to ping the Redis cluster. So we've been able to connect to the Redis instance. Now what? Well, the fun doesn't stop there. We really need to start looking at how we can set and get values from this Redis instance. So we're going to start with the set command. So let's go down below the fmt println, and let's do error is equal to client.set. Now this will take in a context as well, so let's do context.background. Let's do the key. So this can be the key that you will use to then subsequently fetch the value that you've stored in Redis back. So let's do name, and let's do Elliot, and then expiration. So this is how long we want it to live within our Redis instance for. Now we'll set this to 0 so that it lives in there indefinitely. And then let's fetch the error from this, like so. Next, we want to check the error. So if error does not equal nil, let's do fmt printf failed to set value in the Redis instance. And then let's print out the error as well. So let's do error.error. And let's return. Let's navigate down into the terminal and try and run this once again. And perfect. We can't see this error statement getting printed out, so we know that we've been able to set the name key with the value Elliot and an indefinite time to live within our Redis cluster. Now, storing these values alone doesn't give us much benefit, so let's see about how we can retrieve these values. So let's do value or error is equal to client.get. This is going to take in the context.background. I really should have made this a variable. And let's pass in the key. So the key, if you'll remember, is name, which we specified up here. And then let's get the result of this. So let's check the error. If error does not equal nil, fmt printf failed to get value from Redis. And let's print out the original error. And then let's return. Now, if everything has gone to plan, we should then have the value populated within this variable here, and we should be able to print it out. So let's do printline, and let's do value retrieved from Redis, and let's do value, and let's make this a format string instead. Let's give it a new line character, and let's try and run this now. So go run main.go in the terminal, and perfect. You can see that we've been able to retrieve the value from Redis from the key name, and we've been able to retrieve the value Elliot, which is exactly what we want. Now, let's say we wanted to take this a step further and store more information about a person. So let's change it to person as the key, person. And let's say we wanted to store the name, the age, the occupation, for example. Well, we can do that by using JSON. So we could do person, type person struct. Let's give them a name string, JSON name, age, int, JSON age, and occupation, string, JSON occupation. Now let's create a JSON string. So JSON string or error is equal to JSON.Marshall, and let's do person. Let's do name is Elliot. Age is unfortunately 30, and let's do occupation staff software engineer. Like so. Let's check the error, and let's do fmt printline failed to Marshall, and let's pass in the error string as well. It's error.error. Change it to format string and return. And then we can use this JSON string in place of our value here, like so. And then let's try and run this again. As you can see, we've been able to store the JSON string in its entirety against the person key within our Redis instance. Cool. So let's take this example just a step further. Now in production, you wouldn't typically store a key value against a static string like this. What you would do is you would typically concatenate the object and then say an ID for that object. So let's do that now. Let's create an ID on the person struct, and let's do Elliot ID is equal to uuid.new string, like so. And then let's use that when we're marshalling it. So Elliot ID, like so. And then we want to do the key that we're going to be using. So like Elliot key is equal to fmts printf. Let's do person : %s, and then we want to pass in Elliot ID. And then let's use this to get and set the value within Redis, like so. Let's go into the terminal and try and run this and make sure that we've not broken anything. And as you can see, we've still been able to store the Elliot struct as a JSON string within Redis, and we've been able to retrieve it with this new key that we've been able to generate. Now, that's typically the pattern I would use to store things within a production database when I've got thousands and thousands of records, and I don't want them to be colliding or overwriting each other. Now, if I wanted to introduce a new object into that Redis instance, then what I would typically do is just create a new key. So let's say we wanted a different object such as job, then I would just change this to job instead and pass in the job ID as the key that I'm going to be storing the values against and the key that we're going to be retrieving values against. Cool. So that's all we're going to cover in this video. Now, just to recap, we've been able to successfully connect to a Redis instance and then get and set values to said Redis instance. And we've also looked at some more production-like examples about how we can store more complex data structures within Redis using the marshalling function. And then we've also looked at how we can start to store thousands and thousands of records next to each other using this pattern where you've got the object name and the ID for that object. Now, as always, folks, if you enjoyed this video, then please leave a like and let me know in the comments section down below, and subscribe to my channel for more programming content.